It is Wednesday, March 1st. We've made it to March, and you're listening or watching another episode of the Boiler Breakdown podcast. If you're watching, you definitely know there was something different because I'm talking first. I never talk first. You got me, Evan, and Andrew. He's back. He's back from the dead. The accountant lives.
Taking a break from tax season, yeah. Brief break.
He is not here today. He is slumming it out in the tropical paradise of Hawaii. So send your hate comments his way. He's escaping what's been a rough stretch for the boy. We're going to have a crappy time watching the game. Might as well watch it in Hawaii. So there you go, Tan. So we'll see how this goes. But Andrew, you're back for the first time since what we think is late January.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, it's kind of gone downhill since I've been going.
Yeah, maybe we need to get the winning streak going. I think our last podcast was after the Northwestern game on the 12th. Okay. So since then, we've had the boys have had 2 games. No, three. They lost at Maryland. Probably the real only loss Purdue's had this year where it just kind of got away from them. A bounce back win against Ohio State where they just kind of mopped the floor with them, and then lost we don't like to forget on Saturday against the Hoosiers where we were swept for the first time since 2013. Aside from that, how you been, Andrew?
Yeah, February went very fast.
It
was pretty. Yeah.
Some say it's a short month.
Yeah. I was fortunate not to be able to watch the Maryland game. We were on the road for most of it, and by the time we, I think, arrived, I think I'd already turned it off. We were listening to it, and I was like, "This is." I think I turned it off, and then I was like, "Okay." Then I turned it back a couple minutes later. I was like, "Oh, they're down 18 now. Cool. I guess I won't. Mm-hmm. I won't turn this back on."
Yeah, that was a game. Loss. The Northwestern loss. Game was the officiating or lack thereof of Edie just getting pummeled, lawyer getting abused.
So I've noticed that since then, like Edie has like scars on his bicep.
Oh yeah.
And I know he was bleeding that game. Did that come from the Northwestern game? I know he was.
I feel like he's had some of those scars on his arm already. But some of them, he's definitely got some new ones.
Yeah, I thought that Northwestern game he clearly was getting beaten up and was like visibly bleeding in the first half and had scratches all over him. And Northwestern wasn't called for any fouls, and neither was Maryland the next day or next week. So
yeah, so it was the Northwestern game, which I think we've already rehashed, but lack of calls, blew an 8-point lead, 4 minutes to go, turn around, go to Maryland, a tough place to play a team who hadn't lost at home in the Big Ten, only lost one game all year, and that was against UCLA earlier in the non-con. And it was kind of a back and forth game, very physical.
But back and forth until the second half.
Yeah, until second half.
Until the 10-minute mark or something.
Yeah, turning point was definitely where Mason Gillis was called for. Well, I thought, I guess you called a foul, but given some of the stuff that happened in that game, I thought it was a pretty weak foul. And you definitely tell his frustration got the better of him. I think just the kind of the whole build up to that game, which that was a Thursday game. Northwestern game was on Sunday, so really the whole week we had fans and people were talking about the officiating and all that. So I think you definitely saw some pent up frustration on Purdue side kind of boil over, especially with Gillis because he got technical. Maryland capitalized, and then it was just off the races. And at that point, they just they were hitting everything, banking in threes, and just kind of reminded me a little bit of the Michigan game from last year where just nothing was going right for Purdue, which kind of put them in a really tough spot, dropping 2 in a row after having a pretty commanding lead in the Big Ten race. Then they bounced back against kind of a get-right game against Ohio State, which going into the season would not have thought that Ohio State would be considered a get-right game. But ever since the first time Purdue beat them back in January, an absolute skid. I think they might be winning tonight.
They were up by 9 on Maryland last I saw.
Yeah,
they're up by 7 with a minute and a half.
Okay, so I would assume they might hold on, but they were careening off a cliff. Tight first half, as you maybe in Ohio State has a ton of talent.
Yeah,
but then Purdue just took care of business in the second half. Actually, it was cool. What I liked about that game was that Edie sat the last 11 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
Purdue's Purdue extended its lead. And they were kind of just take care of business. Win by 27, which was we hadn't seen since
Yeah, that was kind of. I know Kaufman ran got some play, and it kind of felt like that was going to be a building point, maybe going into the IU game.
Mm-hmm.
Build some confidence because I think he kind of put together some games back to back, improving. We're like, oh, this could be nice. A nice perk off the bench to have have another depth. Not that he hasn't been good. It's just if he's peaking at the right time. But I don't know. What day was that game? Saturday night.
Then
you weren't at the IU game, were you? Maybe
I was not. I'm trying to decide if that was a good thing or a bad thing. But going after the Ohio State game, you just thought, okay, Purdue has a whole week off. Going from Sunday to Saturday. There was talks of. And it was reported, I think, by Jeff Goodman that Lawyer had been battling a calf injury, which is the first time we'd ever heard that. I think, at least from my recollection, after that Ohio State game. So okay, he's got a week to everybody get right. Actually, more importantly, just work on things. As everybody knows, during the Big Ten season, there's not a whole lot of time to actually practice. Just usually just preparation for the next game. Teams will have a whole lot of time to work on much of anything. Given a week, I thought Purdue had a really good shot to work on some stuff. Maybe really review the tape from the previous Indiana game, and maybe try and correct some things. And then kind of came out, and Purdue was up by 4 at half. Trace Jackson-Davis had 0 points, which I did not feel was a good thing.
I don't know. I felt like Purdue didn't play all that well either in the first half, and then they continued in the second half. So, it was like kind of only up by 4 with Trace Jackson-Davis not scoring, or still like, well, Edey missed some bunnies that he normally doesn't miss, or it looks like they were, and everybody was just off. Everything was off a little bit. Nothing, any clean look, it just rattled around. Nothing went in.
Coming into the game, it was a chance to, thanks to Northwestern losing to Illinois, blowing an 18-point lead on Thursday. Talks coming into the game was if Purdue win the Big Ten, you eliminate Indiana from any short chance of a share of the title. Do it on your home court, kind of like 2017, kind of a repeat of that. And then like as you said, Purdue kind of came out and was doing some okay things. Edey was getting his, but he was missing some bunnies, missing a lot of and one opportunities, not making the basket or not converting at the free throw line. Threes were not falling. Jalen Hood-Schifino, to his credit, was getting everything that he wanted in the first half and in the second half, but more especially in the first half. I
think what was the score at halftime? I think he had like 24.
He had like 25
of their like 34 points or something. I think it was like
it was 30-34. I'm pretty sure he had 25.
He had 21 or 25 or something. You had Miller Kopp hitting some open threes. Trey Galloway hitting an open three. That seemed, I don't know. Those were all in the corner. I feel like like Morton was doubling and leaving Kopp a bunch of times, and I didn't really understand.
That was what I was really confused at. It just, Purdue's not, an elite defensive team. We don't really cause a whole lot of turnovers, but we've been pretty solid all year in terms of just, team defense. And, as everybody knows, the way Purdue plays defense is they want to take away the high percentage shots of layups, dunks, and 3-pointers, and, be okay with that mid-range number, because technically that is one of the lowest percentage shots on the court, especially from an efficiency standpoint. Like Morton looked like he was completely lost a lot of the time. Like he was constantly scrambling. My dad was at the game and he said it felt like no one was in sync on defense. You had multiple times where Kopp and Galloway, which, Purdue fans like to talk crap about, Indiana not being able to shoot, but they can shoot this year. And especially Galloway, who's gone from like a 20% for 3-point shooter to he's shooting quite literally 50% on the year. He doesn't take a whole lot, but he makes them when he does. And then Kopp is a proven shooter. And they're Division I athletes. And if you give them an open three, especially in the corner, they're probably going to make it. They did enough to hang around. And then second half, Indiana definitely kind of came out as a tougher team in the second half and kind of took it to Purdue. And again, Purdue just could not make shots.
It was what, like 8? I think so. Purdue's up by 4, and then I feel like maybe at the under 16, Purdue it stretches to 8, and then IU went on like an 18-0 run or something.
It was like 17-2. It was 17-2. Yeah.
18-0 run, and then it was like,
Galloway made some steals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe what I saw was correct. Yeah, in the 17-2 run, Edey did not get a single shot attempt, which is pretty mind blowing given the fact that
it seems like that's kind of happened. I know, like, it happened a lot in maybe like early in the Big Ten. Like, I forget who it was again. Maybe it was like the first time against Iowa or something where Edey took like 3 shots in the first half because they were getting triple teamed. He was passing out of it, but Lawyer hit 2 threes and Smith hit a 3 or somebody. So then it's like, okay, but then it seems like they go away from it sometimes when he gets doubled and he just needs to go through, especially when Trace had 4 fouls fairly early. I think he got his 4th with like 10 minutes left in the game. Or
something like that. Yeah, it was like, pretty uncommon for a player like him because he never really, there's games where he doesn't get his first foul till 5 minutes left in the game.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think Edey? I feel like he makes the right play most of the time where he's passing out of it, but more so it's like, well, go get fouled. But they're not going to call it. Then maybe not. I don't know.
Yes, struggling. And there's a couple times, especially as of late. I think part of it too is just the nature of playing in the Big Ten. When you're playing some of these teams twice, everybody knows each other. He'll make some of those cross-court passes, and it's just like you can't do that. Especially like now at this point in the season, like everybody knows they're looking for it, and especially like confident defense is going to take advantage of that. Yeah,
because they're double and triple teaming him, knowing that he's going to skip it.
Yeah,
and
what did he have?
I haven't looked. I did notice at the IU game. I just looked at that Braden Smith played 38 minutes. And he's seemed gassed the last 2 months. Like, there have been a lot of times where he is just gassed. So is it Lawyer? He said, he had potentially an injury, and Lawyer and Smith hitting a wall that they didn't really seem to hit in January. It's kind of come later.
Yeah, I think now you're kind of seeing again being the Big Ten is teams have figured out that if you can take away Lawyer and Smith, kind of like how almost like what Purdue was doing with Indiana was they took away Trace and said, okay, everybody else beat us. And they did. Hoosiers went off, and then Kopp and Galloway made the right plays. I think if Purdue can keep Galloway and Kopp from making those plays, they can still maybe win. Let Hoosiers do his thing, which he's probably cemented himself as a lottery pick. I hope he did, so he can leave. I want to see him back next year.
Purdue.
He was. He's made those mid-range jumpers mostly at home all year, but he made a couple early, and play like that gets his head up. It's game on from there. If they took away Lawyer, which a lot of teams are taking away Lawyer. He scored 14 points this game on 4 of 12 shooting, 2 of 5 from 3, which is better than he's been doing. He's been a couple games he's been like 1 for 6.
Is it? I know. I guess thinking back to it, Ivy got knocked down a lot.
Oh yeah,
it was because he was driving and getting bumped, and he was just so athletic and up in the air. If he got hit, it was kind of hard. He was going to fall.
Yeah.
Lawyer is not nearly as athletic, but like pretty darn skinny. But he gets killed. It looks like he gets beaten up. Yeah.
Yeah, and the running him off the 2-point line. Yeah, when he cuts and like runs, they're bumping him. Like, he's a freshman. Not a 5-star freshman, a good freshman. He's gonna be really, really good. But I think he's definitely kind of feeling the Big Ten brunt of it right now.
Yeah, I don't understand like why he doesn't get more of those calls. I know he's a freshman, but whatever. But like still.
It's what I know there's been a lot of discussion on like the boards and stuff, like especially with Lawyer and Smith, like playing so much as like, can we play Newman more? There's been a lot of people calling for Newman, which I thought Newman did a really good job. And he's played really good defense as of late. His offense has been, hit and miss some games. He definitely has a tendency to have a quick trigger and not get into the flow of the offense. But I thought he played about as good as defense on Hood-Schifino as you could have asked anybody. Definitely better than Morton. He had the big 3 at the end of the half that kind of put us up by 4, which was nice. Kind of gave us a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah.
But then you also look at, David Jenkins, but he's not really a true point guard because, teams are going to pressure. But, you'd like to try and maybe, especially going down the stretch, that those guys can play, when they played. See, Newman played. David Jenkins played 9. And a lot of times you'll see David and Braden playing together, so they're trying to spell, Lawyer.
Yeah.
He played 30. He played 35 minutes. Edie Smith and Lawyer played 37, 38, 35 respectively. First played 16. Morton played 20. Gillis and Newman played 19 each. Coffin Red played 7, and Jenkins played 9. We scored 71 points. Indiana's got a pretty good defense too. I think a lot of people, want to say, the offense was terrible. Our defense wasn't great, but as Painter kind of said, a lot of times when you look at, people will judge your offense by for making shots or not. If the shots are going in, people think your offense is great. And if it's not going in, people think your offense is terrible. I think that was just one of the cases where shots just weren't going in. We were.
And Purdue shot like 35% or something, right?
34.9 from the field, 21% from 3, 5 of 23. Purdue shoots, I think they average like 33% from 3 on the season. So if we just hit our average for that and hit our average around 75% from the free throw line, which we shot 66% from the free throw line, Purdue probably walks away from that game, celebrating on Mackey with a Big Ten championship.
Yeah, you get a couple plus, they had so many open threes. It felt like
the first
half.
Mm-hmm.
And
then there was that. It was towards the end of the game, so it was kind of there was towards the end of the game, which was kind of, I think, definitely kind of sealed it. But there was a possession where Purdue literally got like 3 open threes in one possession and missed them all. We might have scored a 2 after that. I don't remember, but it was just like that was just kind of a microcosm of the whole game. Of just kind of, I felt like Purdue played tight a little bit. I don't know what it was. If it was the pressure to try and win it at home, I don't know what it was. Who knows? Maybe it would have been better if we would have had a game during the middle of the week. I don't really know. But didn't really matter because the next day, Northwestern went out to Maryland and got beat. So therefore, Purdue clinched their share of the Big Ten title. Definitely was the least excited I've ever been to win a Big Ten title because I was still pretty pissed from the day before.
I didn't even ask how you're doing, Webby. It seemed like you were better. This was the first couple of days, 48 hours after Saturday night. It was
bad. It was really bad. It was really, really bad for me. And that definitely kind of helped to cushion a little bit. Just like, okay, because the worry after that game was like, oh my God, like, what if we lose out? What if we had all this? I hated the fact that people were saying 10 games, halfway through the Big Ten season that Purdue was was going to run away with the league. It's like, and it's a good league. It's not great this year, but there's a lot of games to be played still. So it's nice to at least get the share. And then now all Purdue has to do is just win a game, and they can clinch outright, which obviously they play at Wisconsin tomorrow, who is, I believe today was Lunardi's last team on the last 4 in. They were the last of the last 4 in. So they're going to be desperate. And then they finish up at home against the most Jekyll and Hyde basketball team I've probably ever seen in my life. And that's the Illinois Fighting Illini, a team that first half against Northwestern looked absolutely terrible. And then the second half looked like they were a Final Four team. And then they go and lose at Ohio State the next game. So you don't know what you're going to get there. I know Illinois is mathematically eliminated from winning the Big Ten.
I kind of forgot. I didn't even realize they were 10-8. That was one thing though. I was just looking at it. Could Northwestern fall out of the double bye? Because I would love for that to happen. They have quickly gone from like I don't care to like second least, maybe like third least favorite. Maybe
so they are
because Michigan State's been so benign outside of Israel for the last few years.
So they've got 2 games left, so that would put them at 11-9 at worst, which would
10-8 is like 9th place at the moment.
Yeah. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams with 8 losses. 2 teams with 7 you had 3 teams with 7 losses, but Maryland just lost. Northwestern plays right now, and Michigan plays tomorrow at Illinois. And then they also play at Indiana on Sunday.
Oh my gosh! Please go Micah Shrewsbury, please. That'd be so awesome.
There is a
lost out.
Yeah, if Northwestern loses this game, and Michigan plays at Illinois tomorrow at 7:00 Eastern time. So if that game were to finish before the Purdue game starts, and Michigan were to lose, Purdue would clinch the outright championship before they even play the game, which would be wild. I think Northwestern will get it done tonight just because they're at home. I think it's senior night for them because they play. They play at Rutgers on Sunday, which will be a tough one. I mean, it's wild.
Rutgers has kind of been free falling though.
Yeah, ever since they lost Mag, who was a starter and a really good defender. Yeah, they've kind of went from second place to now they're barely they're fighting to not be playing on Thursday or on Wednesday right now because they are. I guess they're 2 games up over Wisconsin and Penn State, but so they have to lose these last 2, and those 2 teams would have to win their last 2.
Yeah, they play Minnesota tomorrow, and then Northwestern.
So probably 2 wins.
Yeah, probably. Hopefully 2 wins.
I mean, let's. Yeah.
As long as they beat Northwestern, I don't care what they do against Minnesota.
But you've got Iowa with 11-8, Maryland 11-8, Indiana 11-8, who after coming off beating Purdue at Purdue, there were a lot of talk, especially in the media, was this is the Final Four team of the Big Ten, and then they followed up with a 22-point loss at home to the Hawkeyes, which was very shocking. Iowa.
What
took it to
that's
Stanford.
Stanford.
Yeah.
Is he a senior?
That's a good question.
I thought he was done. But I was like, does he have any eligibility? Grad transfer, just to transfer to Purdue, just for a couple of games would be great.
He's a sophomore.
Okay, I thought he was older. I thought he was last game.
He
hilarious.
He made a lot of fans last night, or made a lot of friends on the Purdue community with hitting a 3 to go up 25 at the end of the game, and then blew a kiss to the Indiana student section. Then got a technical foul, but
with a minute left.
Yeah.
100%. And then the IU fanboys on the sideline down 25, all jumping, going crazy, trying to get teed up. Hilarious. Down 25.
Yeah, Iowa. I mean, Iowa in their last 2 games. Turning to just the Big Ten podcast because I just don't want to talk about these last couple Purdue games, but Iowa has scored 202 points in the last 2 games because they had 112 against Michigan State and that insane. Did you see the end of that game in regulation?
No.
They hit their last 5 threes. They were down 11 with a minute and a half to go. To the point, I was just because Robbie was on the call and him and the other guy, they were kind of just game's over, kind of just joking around about just trying to waste just vamp for the last minute and a half, and then they kept fouling, which I was like, what the heck are they doing? But Michigan State, who missed a free throw, whatever, Iowa came down, hit a 3. They do it again, they get a turnover, whatever. But they hit their last 5 threes, and Sanford hit the 3 that tied it. And it was crazy. It was Michigan State. I think they were 11 of 13 from 3 in regulation. They shot 80%. Yeah. And then they ended the game 11 of 15 for the game, so 73% from 3. So it was just it was insane. And then Iowa was 17 of 36, so 47%. And then they kind of picked up right where they left off against Indiana. I think they hit their first 2 or 3 threes. I know Chris Murray went off to start the game. He plays really well against Indiana for some reason. And then Tony Perkins, the Indianapolis native, played really, really well. He almost had a triple-double last night. But that kind of helped Purdue because, again, knocked another team off with a loss with Indiana. So they're now mathematically eliminated from clinching a share. So really just down to Northwestern and Michigan have to win out, and Purdue has to lose out for anybody to have a share.
Yep. Yeah, which I just fine. It just feels slightly disappointing for me. Like you said a month ago when it was, Purdue's going to win by 5 games.
Yeah.
Which they still could, I guess. Purdue wins out, gets to 15 wins. Northwestern loses out, and they're up 14-5 now, 8 minutes into the game. So not a super good start for Mike Shrewsbury.
So how does this change your thoughts of this? The way, if you look at, Purdue, so they have lost, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the last 6 they've lost. They lost Indiana, Northwestern, Maryland, and Indiana. Iowa and Ohio State. Does this change how you think the team can perform in March? Obviously, before, going into that Indiana game, and really even going to that first Indiana game at the beginning of February, it was Purdue was number 1 overall seed. And then obviously they dropped. They still stay number one, beat Iowa, obviously then lost at Northwestern. Then they kind of started to fall. And now they're kind of like, from what it sounds like, that last number one seed as of right now. Of course, I think Bama just lost, so that might help Purdue's case. Oh, just kidding. They're tied with 44 seconds. Gosh, dang it. But, so it sounds like, Purdue has like zero margin for error. So it sounds like they pretty much have to win out. I would think if they win out and then win a game in the Big Ten tournament, they should be safe on the one line.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Lenardi still had them as like the number 2 1 seed or something as of like
they were
Monday.
3.
I thought I saw 1 or 2.
He just came out with one today.
Okay, I don't remember.
Let me pull it up. Purdue was 4. They were the last 1 seed.
Okay, I don't know what I saw.
With UCLA right behind them. But UCLA, they still have to play Arizona last game of the season, which Arizona is a 3 seed right now. One of the last 3 seeds. So Lenardi today came out with his kind of top 4 seeds for every region, and he had Purdue's number 1 seed in the East region, along with 2 seed Texas, 3 seed Tennessee, which they're going to fall because their starting point guard just tore his ACL last night, so they're going to fall a little bit most likely, and then 4 seed UConn, which the thought of playing UConn in the Sweet 16 in New York is stupid.
I don't know. I think too far ahead. Yeah,
I know.
I'd like to see Purdue hit like 14 threes against Wisconsin tomorrow just to get.
I'd like it too, but then I remember, Wisconsin's Under Armour, which means they play with the Wilson ball, which also was at Maryland and Northwestern, and Purdue couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with that ball. And it's also the ball that they use in the tournament, so I guess you got to figure it out at some point. I'd like to see. I guess so. What would you like to see out of Purdue tomorrow? Obviously,
Lawyer, Lawyer and Smith, Jenkins and Newman to hit a combined, like 12 threes. More than I don't care if he can take 2 and he hits 1 or not. But I know he doesn't.
I'm fine with him shooting a couple of games. I mean, if he's open, I have confidence in him. I mean, he's shown he can do it. I like his defense. I know some people. He's grown some non-fans right now just because of his play as of late, but whatever. I'd like to think that tomorrow, I'm trying to think, it sounds like Chucky Hepburn's going to be out. I think he wasn't even practicing today because he got hurt he got hurt in their last game and then never came back to the bench after going to the locker room. I worry about Connor Sejan simply just because he's an Indiana kid who didn't have a Purdue offer. So, there's always that storyline.
Did he play that much though? Okay,
yeah,
he does. I didn't think he did.
He's gotten much better.
I'm thinking of the Barnheiser kid at Northwestern.
Oh yeah, which he's even starting to play a lot more as of late. But I like to think that maybe Connor guards Lawyer, which I feel like should be one of Lawyer's better matchups that he's had probably in the last 10 games. Because I mean, if you think about it, because he had Kopp on him last game. Northwestern game, he had Audige on him. Both of those dudes are seniors, if not 5th-year seniors, so they are grown men guarding an 18, 19-year-old.
He looks pretty skinny out there.
Yeah, he needs to do nothing but just pound calories and lift a bunch of weights in the offseason. So I'd like to think that maybe he can have a little bit more freedom of movement. Just like you said, I hope everybody can kind of find their stroke from 3, even Gillis. Just the way Wisconsin plays, they're gonna take the air out of the ball and pound it. So it's gonna be a rock fight. But hopefully, Edie's gonna have. They've got. I keep forgetting they've got Stephen Crawl, who is a 7-footer. So one of the taller guys Edie's played against, probably in the Big Ten. So interesting to see how they guard him, if they double him or if they let Crawl go one-on-one.
Would they double him with Wall? Like, who would they double him with? It has to be Wall.
That's a good point.
And then
shout out to that. Bama, Auburn going to overtime.
I feel like they're going to double him because I don't know, maybe.
I mean, at this point, I don't see why people wouldn't, because Purdue
Yeah.
hasn't shown to really like punish people from three.
Other than a stretch from like, was it like December they started to improve? December, January they shot better. It kind of was improving. Like, oh, maybe water's finance level, and then it's just been off. Like,
yeah. I mean, other than I think the Iowa game Purdue shot all right. Yeah, Purdue. I mean, 37% better than our average. I mean, Smith was 4 or 5. Lawyer was 2 of 8.
But I guess other than Gillis hitting 9 threes,
it's been we haven't really had. So yeah. They probably will. Maybe they will throw a wall just to throw another bigger body at him. That's good. It's gonna be interesting.
I mean, I did see. I don't know. Did you send it the text about the Player of the Year betting has been pulled because Edie's?
Yeah, they came out with.
True? Is that true?
I saw it on Twitter. Where was that?
That was my understanding. It was like, oh, I'd love Edie to go 30 and 20 and just cement. And
which I feel like
20 and then cement.
Because there was some. Yeah, Bet Online had set out. Let me see. Let me pull up the actual tweet. This Twitter will load for me. I mean, Sam King, who he covers Purdue for JC Online. He got an email from that. Said NCAA men's tournament winner Houston is still a favorite, followed by Alabama, Kansas, UCLA, and Purdue. Wooden award lines are off the board due to Edie's massive lead.
So DraftKings still has 2023 Wooden Award winner Zach Edey minus 10,000, Trace Jackson Davis, Jalen Wilson plus 4,000, Brand Miller plus 10,000. Yeah, so he still can bet on it. But yeah, on DraftKings, but it's minus 10,000.
I saw somebody I think it was on the boards or Twitter said that they got in during the Portland trip when Edey was plus 750. I'm full disclosure, I have no idea what that means. But I know it's good for him.
If you bet $100, you win $750.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know what that means. Just kidding. So kudos to that guy, whoever that was on the boards. I think it was on the boards. So shout out to you because you're probably gonna get a nice payout depending on how much you put down.
I mean, if you put $1 on it,
yeah. They're just crazy. I mean, it's been absolutely insane to watch Edey this year. Never would I have thought he was going to be this good ever. I mean, even when even as a freshman, his first couple games, I think he scored, 40 points combined his first 3 games or whatever, and surprised everybody. But I never thought that he'd be this dominant.
And it's funny because what was it? The other group text where someone was like, "Oh, looking back, I thought Isaac Haas was really good."
Yeah,
and he was really good, but it's just he's just
in comparison. Yeah, I mean, because I know before the game Saturday, ESPN Game Day, they had a thing about Purdue bigs, and then you looked at obviously going back, you had most recently Matt Harms, Trayvon Williams. Looking at 7-footers, you had Matt Harms most recently, Isaac Haas, AJ Hammond. And yeah, I mean, Haas was great, but he was just a big oaf and couldn't really move.
What did you say? He averaged 4.5 rebounds a game.
I think one of our friends said that. Yeah, I remember him not being a great rebounder. Because I remember that was always talk of God, he's 7 foot, rebound the ball, but it's he just couldn't move. He had cinder blocks attached to his feet. I mean, he was dominant in the post. He just wasn't quick. Or Edey, so obviously he's 7'4", he's a mountain of a man, but he can move relative to his size.
4.5 career. His senior year, Isaac Haas averaged 14.7 points a game, 5.7 points.
Where Edey's doing 22 and 11 or something like that.
13. I think Edey's averaging 13 rebounds.
Yeah, because I saw some too. Because obviously his numbers and Trace Jackson Davis's numbers are very similar. Edey's got a slight edge in points and rebounds, but obviously Trace has got more assists and obviously more blocks. And he became the all-time leading in blocks and rebounds for Indiana. But someone pointed out too, it's if you watch Purdue and Indiana, when he gets when Trace gets his rebounds, a lot of times he's the only one going up for a rebound, so he just gets all of them naturally. But he's got watch Purdue You got Braden, who's trying to.
Braden averages 5, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He averages 4 or 5 a game.
Yeah, so he's got a lot of competition just on his own squad, which makes it even. And he obviously a lot
Gillis
of it
in
is.
first. I mean, Gillis and first have
Mm-hmm.
both had double doubles this year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
At least have
And
had
then
10
just
rebounds.
and it obviously helps when Edie can get off the putback, which is also kind of a bigger part of the offense, which we didn't have in the Maryland game at all.
I mean, I know they talk about it a lot of times during the game when like Smith throws up those layups that he makes. He ends up making probably half of it. Like he makes more than them than he probably should, but they're like he's throwing that up there because he knows if it comes off the rim, Edie's gonna put it like dunk it.
Right.
Like yeah, because they crash on and I'm like yeah, there's Edie with a wide open putback dunk. Yeah.
But just the fact, I mean, going back to kind of what you said earlier, I was very upset on waking up Sunday morning. Didn't feel all that much better after we clinched the Big Ten, which is crazy. Like, because I mean, going into the year, Purdue was picked from. I think a lot of the media had us fifth. Some people had us like down to seventh.
Yeah, fifth to eighth or something.
Yeah, and there's just like if we could just. I thought if we finished top 4 in the Big Ten, like that was incredible, and like making the tournament, hopefully getting above an 8 or 9.
Yeah, and then win a game.
It maybe win a game. It would be like like probably best case scenario, and then here I am 4 or 5 months later, pissed off after I just clinched the Big Ten championship. Which is, I mean, it's great because you look at some of the teams recently, especially last year's team, who was one of my favorite teams to watch, as maddening as it could be sometimes, but just because I had my favorite player on the team, not really have much to show for the season. They won the Cheez-It Trophy, but then they had a chance to win the Big Ten, kind of let it slip away. Lost in the Big Ten championship.
Got the number one in the country for a game before losing
for 2 days. Yeah. Made it to the Big Ten championship. Lost to Iowa because of turnovers, and then obviously got a huge break in the tournament because with a 15 seed, beating Kentucky and getting them in the Sweet 16, and then letting that one slip again because of turnovers and not hitting shots. So it sucks that team didn't get a chance to really have much. The 2018 team was kind of the same way. I think we won 17 in a row that year, got up to like number 3 or 2. Let the Big Ten slip away towards the end. We lost against Ohio State. They had a putback. I think Kata Bates-Diop had a putback layup. I think the winning team in the Big Ten had like only 3 losses that year. It was like one of the fewest losses that team has had like in a while. We had like 4 or 5. Let the Big Ten championships away. Lost in the Big Ten tournament, and then lost obviously Isaac Haas's elbow against Cal State Fullerton. Beat Butler in the round of 32, but then lost to Texas Tech in the Sweet 16 without Isaac Haas. So again, kind of another team that had done some really cool things, but just had nothing to really show for the season. And thankfully, this team, at least barring what happens for the rest of the year, that they've got something to show for their hard work, which is awesome. Something to build on.
Mm-hmm.
Talks about if Edie comes back next year, we'll probably return most guys. I'm sure somebody will leave, if not a couple guys. You never know. But the fact that you return, Braden and Fletcher, another year older, another year stronger, and then if Zach comes back, that could be pretty good. But we still have a lot of games left to play.
Yep.
So give us an update. 85-83 Bama, 128 left. War Eagle, come on.
I think like 6 weeks ago, it was probably I felt like I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to Northwestern enough to know, but I felt like it was a shoo-in that Painter was Big Ten Coach of the Year. Now, I feel like that's flipped. Do you agree? You think Painter even though Purdue was nowhere near expected, they'd been unranked number 1 in a couple months and nowhere supposed to win the Big Ten, and theoretically, hopefully Purdue takes care of business and wins the Big Ten by 3 games or something.
Mm-hmm.
And still, I mean, it's a big margin in Big Ten and everything. I don't know. I feel like Northwestern became
they could be the darling for sure. Yeah. Maybe
they'll lose out. I think they're up by 10 on Penn State, but they'll lose out.
Oh, let's assume they win tonight, lose Sunday, so they would be 12-8. They are going to be somewhere. Which I actually, when we pick games, I'm gonna do a bracket generator because there's so many stupid tiebreakers out there. I don't even know how to figure this out. We'll do it here in a second. But I mean, I think they were picked like 12th the start of the year. So like, I mean, from pick 12th and get a double bye in the Big Ten, I would feel like Collins definitely deserves that.
But it's
Obviously, I want Painter to get it.
To win and then they win.
Right, and wins it outright. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting how they view it because obviously Purdue.
I feel like it's gonna be Collins just because I feel like because of that loss that was big and no one had any expectations of Northwestern, and it'll be nice.
Yeah.
I hope they win 4 games next year in the conference.
And you get, conspiracy theory, but Chicago office, Northwestern, and Evanston. You never know. Needed
that extra team in the Big Ten in the tournament because at that time they were
all the media members are Northwestern grads most likely, so you never know. As Hoosiers, so ED Player of the Year, Big Ten. I guess we can project this now because probably by the time we record next, they'll have it announced.
Will they announce it Sunday? I saw like the other comments.
I think it'll probably be.
I guess the
Monday or Tuesday.
I guess the Big East tournament's next week.
Yeah, because they announced the women's, I think Monday, because the women's tournament started today or last night. I can't remember. It might have been today. So I assume they'll probably announce it Monday or Tuesday. So Player of the Year will be Edie. Coach of the Year, probably Collins. That's probably my guess. Defensive Player of the Year, I guess easy answer might be McConnell, but you could argue Trace Jackson Davis. You could argue Edie. I think they might give it to McConnell again. I could see.
That's what I was thinking.
Freshman of the Year is probably. I think it's gonna be Huchefino.
Or
Sensabaugh has a really good. You could argue Sensabaugh. The problem is because I heard, which I get. I go back and forth in this argument because Andy Katz put out his top 5 freshmen, which he had Huchefino first, Sensabaugh second, Fletcher 3. I can't remember who had 4th, but Braden was 5. And he was like, Huchefino will win. Sensabaugh's been great, but they didn't win. It's like, but should that matter for freshman of the year? I don't know if that should. Player of the Year, I kind of get, best player, best team. That's usually an easy argument, but it's like freshman of the year. I'm pretty sure, did Romeo win freshman of the year? And that IU team sucked. I'm trying to, I think Bryce McGowan, did Bryce McGowan's win it for Nebraska a couple years ago and they were a bottom feeder? I feel like that shouldn't matter. Because obviously Huchefino's had his incredible game on Saturday. He's had multiple 30-point games, but then he also follows up had 8 points on 4-14 shooting last night. But I feel like Sensabaugh has been more consistent. Let's look at his numbers.
I'm just looking at past winners.
Yeah, Sensabaugh's averaging 16 and 5. What's Huchefino averaging?
It doesn't look like Romeo won it. What year would that have been?
2018.
Jaron Jackson Jr. won it in 2018.
Oh. Sorry, 2019. Yes, 2019.
Kofi. No, sorry. I don't even remember this guy from Michigan. Brazikis.
Oh yeah,
I don't remember him.
Yeah, he was a big European dude that he went pro right away. I don't know. I haven't heard from him since.
I do not remember.
Huchefino's averaging 13 and 4, but also 3, almost 4 assists. So their numbers are, give the edge to rebounds and points to Sensabaugh, but assists to Huchefino. But also, obviously, IU's playing much, much better than Ohio State. But gosh dang it, 88-85 Bama. I thought the line was 6 left.
Interesting. So if Wikipedia is correct, Purdue is one of 5 teams that have not had a freshman of the year, Big Ten freshman of the year.
I'm shocked one of the Baby Bullets didn't win it. Was Romeo 2018 or 20? I feel like he was the year that Purdue went to the Elite Eight, which was 2019. Yeah, because him and Romeo went to the Celtics together. That's right. Yeah, so it was 2019.
So let's see. The Baby Boilers were 2007. Yeah. Greg Oden.
No, no, it would have been next year. Next year, too. Sorry.
Eric Gordon, then.
Oh, duh. Yeah, makes sense. Number one player in the country. Let's see. What else?
Yeah.
I guess who's your first team All Big Ten?
Do they do it by positions? I can't remember. I haven't paid that much attention. Do they do it by
I don't
positions?
know.
So,
They shouldn't. I don't think they should.
yeah. Edie and Trace, obviously.
They'll be unanimous.
Yeah.
You could actually maybe have three guys that are unanimous.
Murray. Would you put Murray up there?
Pickett. I put Pickett
Yeah.
as unanimous.
Yeah, Pickett definitely. Yeah. Bowie or Adij. Who's gonna get it over Bowie or Adij?
Bowie would get it over Adij. I think it's as of right now. I'd probably go Edie, Trace, Pickett are all.
I forget about Pickett.
And then probably Chris Murray, especially after last night, and then probably Bowie, just because of his especially his performance against Purdue and Indiana back to back. At Illinois, he outscored Illinois by himself in the first half.
Penn State has clawed back to within one with 3 minutes to go in the first half.
Oh, interesting. Huh. You want to pick some games before we kind of wrap up? I guess let me ask that question. Where do you think Fletcher and Braden? Do you think they make an All Big Ten team? I think they make the All Freshman team.
I think that's a given. They'll make all freshmen. I bet Braden gets on like honorable mention or something. I think he gets.
I think they both make third team.
Yeah, I don't know about Fletcher. I feel like he's had a hit or miss kind of up and down Big Ten season. So is Braden, but Braden's highs have been a little higher in Big Ten. It seems like, and his lows have been a couple bad games. But other than that, he's just kind of been not a great game, and then he's had some. Yeah, I would say Braden more likely than Fletcher, but maybe I could be wrong.
Yeah. Do you think Ethan makes all Big Ten defensive team?
After the IU game, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Edie does.
Yeah, I think Edie. I don't think anybody. Yeah, I don't think anybody else on Purdue would.
Yeah, I don't really know anything else about it. I mean, some other guys out there, but I'm trying to get any other awards out there. Sixth man. Maybe you could argue Gillis. I'm not sure.
How many starts does it count? I mean, because he started and then if he starts the last couple, yeah.
That's a good question. I'm trying to get any good 6 men out there. I mean, you could probably Malik Hall because since he's been hurt, he keeps coming off the bench. He's basically a starter for Michigan State, but I think he's been too hurt. I'm trying to get any other. I have no idea. Tominga, could he be a 6 man? Because I know he started, but he hasn't started. The legend of Tominga. Tominaga, not Tominga. Yeah. Tominaga.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. All right, let's pick some games. So I'm going to do the Big Ten tournament generator because this gives me tiebreakers. So we know Ohio State won today, so that changes things. Yeah. Who do you got, Northwestern or Penn State?
I think Northwestern, but I would love. I want to pick Penn State, but I think it's going to be Northwestern.
We'll go off. I'll do this off your picks.
All right, Northwestern.
Northwestern. Okay, and then tomorrow we've got Eastern, Michigan at Illinois. Illinois is favored by 3.5.
Yeah, I think Illinois.
Okay, I do too. I think it'd be a close one though.
I wanted to pick Michigan.
They're desperate. I think they are. I think in the first 4 out, and I think they're kind of towards the bottom of that. I think they might be the 3rd team. So they've got 2 quad 1 opportunities at Illinois, at Indiana this week. So if they can take care of business, you never know. And then also at 7:00 on Fox Sports 1, Rutgers at Minnesota. Rutgers is 8.5-point favorites.
I don't have a line on that one. I think Rutgers.
Yeah, 8.5. Yeah.
Who is Minnesota's one win? Who did they beat? Was it Northwestern?
Ohio State.
Yeah, I was like,
that was an interesting game because it was on Fox Sports 1, and both coaches were mic'd. They did that for Purdue last year. I remember that. I know there was a thought like maybe like was Holtman taken out of his element because he couldn't maybe say the things that he wanted to say because he was on live TV. Maybe couldn't coach the way he wanted to. But yeah, it was at Ohio State too. Minnesota went in there and beat them. And then Purdue at Wisconsin. Purdue a 4-point favorite.
I think Purdue better have a bounce back game and win by double digits.
Yeah, I'd like to see a 12-point victory. Saturday, the lone Big Ten game on Saturday, noon on ESPN. Ohio State at Michigan State.
Michigan State.
Ohio State's 1-2 in a row. Can they get hot? I think Michigan State. Senior day. I don't know who's a senior on Michigan State. I assume Hauser is because I feel like he's been in it for a couple of years, but I feel like he's 30 years old. Yeah. Michigan State's been shooting the lights out. They were at Nebraska last night, and Nebraska was winning, but then Michigan State just like torched them and ended up winning by like 15. I think Michigan State wins. They've been shooting really well. So it's on a game on Saturday. So Sunday, we got 6 games on Sunday. Starting at noon.
This is gonna be big for the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
At this point, let's see. Assuming Illinois wins, so they would have 8 losses. Maryland's got
Michigan would have 8 losses. Yep. Northwestern would be the only team that didn't have 8 losses.
Iowa has 8 losses. Yeah.
Yep.
Michigan, everybody but Northwestern. Hilarious.
Yeah. So at noon on Big Ten Network, Maryland at Penn State.
At Penn State.
Does Road Maryland show up again like this?
I know. Let's go Shrewsbury. Come on, Shrewsbury. Are they going to be in the tournament? If they're 17 and 12, 8 and 10.
They'd have to do some serious damage. You want to do Penn State?
I mean, if they win tonight and win at Maryland and win against home Maryland, it's 19 and 12, 10 and 10 in the Big Ten.
That's true.
I mean, that would put them 10 and 10 in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
That might put them on like the 7.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they've had any like. I mean, they obviously had to win at Illinois, but Illinois is like an 8 seed right now. 12:30 on Fox, the game we all care about. Illinois at Purdue. Big question is which Illinois team shows up.
Yeah, I think Purdue. We're going to pick Purdue, obviously.
Yeah, the lone game is against Illinois. At 2:00 Eastern, Nebraska at Iowa. Does Iowa score 90 plus again? I think they do. 4:30 Eastern on CBS. Michigan Wolverines travel to Bloomington to try and get a revenge for their loss at Ann Arbor, where they had a chance to win it at the end, but decided not to give it to their best player. And Jet Howard hoisted up a contested 3 and didn't hit anything.
I would say IU at home, but I mean, that just worked out. They just lost by 22 at home, so I'd love to see a repeat of that. But I think IU bounces back.
I think they do too. Senior day for Race Thompson. Trace Jackson Day says he's going to senior day. 4th one done here.
Yeah, I was saying 4th senior day.
Xavier Johnson is technically but there's also been rumors that he may try and get a medical redshirt. He's kind of on that edge where you have to apply for a waiver. Miller Kopp is gone. Is this the last home game for Jalen Chifino? Hope so.
Yeah.
Then 7:30. I didn't know these games went this late on Sunday. Northwestern at Rutgers.
Yep. Just because screw Northwestern.
Yep. And then the last game, which is 7:30 as well, the game everybody wants to watch, Wisconsin at Minnesota.
Would Minnesota going 1-18 be like historically bad? How bad would that be?
It's got to be up there.
Like, has anyone gone winless?
I'm sure.
Did Northwestern go winless?
What did
Nebraska?
What about the first Tom Crean year? Like when they had
they won a game.
Tom Tom Pritchard was like their go-to player.
I mean, that was about the time when Purdue finished last, wasn't it?
No, that was like the start of the baby boilers, so we were fine. That was like
Yeah,
Robbie.
okay,
I was
that's
like,
right. I
because
was thinking it was right after the Dave Boilers, like
yeah,
2013,
I think because
like
Crean
right at
came
the
in
start
right
of
after.
Daryl Hazel years.
Yeah, that was 2014. 2013,
Yeah.
2014 was our best and bad years. But yeah, because Crean came in right after the Eric Gordon year because Sampson got fired and then they were gutted because of sanctions. So you picking Wisconsin or Minnesota?
Wisconsin. Does anybody pick Minnesota? Like, is anybody?
All right. So based off your picks, let's calculate some seeds. So the final standings would be your number 1 seed, Purdue Boilermakers, at 15-5. The 2 seed with tiebreaker over Northwestern, Rutgers, and Indiana, having one record against those 3 teams. The Iowa Hawkeyes, the number 2 seed. Number 3 seed, Northwestern Wildcats, also at 12-8. There's 4 teams that tied 12. Northwestern with the 3 seed because they have they are above Indiana and below Iowa based on round robin, above Rutgers based on winning percentage against number 16. These tiebreakers make no sense to me. Number 4 seed, Rutgers, also at 12-8. The 5 seed, Indiana Hoosiers, also at 12-8. The 6 seed at 11-8, because this game's not going to be made up, Michigan State Spartans, even though they would be above Indiana because their one game was against Minnesota, not going to be played. It was due to the tragic shooting that happened on Michigan State's campus. They felt that they wouldn't be able to make that game up. So Michigan State will have one less game played. So they'd be 11-8. They'd be the 6 seed. 7 seed at 11-9, Maryland. The 8 seed also at 11-9, Illinois. 9 seed also at 11-9, Michigan. And then here's a little bit. 10 seed, Wisconsin at 9-11. 11 seed, Penn State at 9-11. The 12 seed, Nebraska 8-12. The 13 seed, Ohio State at 5-15. And rounding it out to Minnesota at 1-18. So if that were to stay the way it is, Purdue would be the first game on Friday, playing the winner of Michigan and Illinois, which, not gonna lie, kind of scares me a little bit. And then they'd play the winner of Rutgers versus either Indiana or Nebraska or Ohio State. So your top 4 seeds: Purdue, Iowa, Northwestern, Rutgers, just like we all predicted back in October.
I did look it up. So in 2016, Rutgers went 1-17.
Wow. Probably the beginning of the Steve Peichel era, or maybe just before it. I can't remember.
Eddie Jordan.
Okay.
So just before Peichel.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, we definitely thank our sponsors. Let me pull up the ad read here, since this is normally Tanner's job. The first, our friends over at Mad Mushroom. Boiler Breakdown is brought to you by Mad Mushroom, serving Boilermakers since 1993. Mad Mushroom is located in the heart of West Lafayette and is well known as the home of the original cheese stick. But whenever we like to visit, we like to sit down, have a nice cold beer while trying out their latest pizza of the month, which it's March 1st, which means new pizza, which this month is, fitting for my fiance, is Hannah's Homemade Veggie Pie. She's had a good week, well, until yesterday, being an Indiana graduate. But Hannah's Homemade Veggie Pie is a vegetarian refried bean blend. Say that 10 times fast. Black beans, corn, green peppers, onions, diced tomatoes, and cheddar and mozzarella cheeses, starting at $14. Next time you're in town, stop in, tell them Boiler Breakdown sent you for $5 off any order over $20. And any Boiler Breakdown listener can also use the coupon code BREAK5 to claim a discount online at madmushroom.com. Mad Mushroom, feed your head. And we also like to thank our friends over at The Shop. They're making t-shirts, comfortable t-shirts since 2011. Started out in a garage now. They have 2 retail locations, one in Carmel and one in the Broad Ripple area. But if you want to shop online, you can go use promo code Breakdown for 25% off. We're getting towards the end of the year. or end of the season, I should say, which is about the last. I think it's about the last time we'll be able to use our code. That goes for anything. They're coming out with Indy 500 shirts. Have been pretty sweet. And the Indy 500 logo this year is black and gold, so get it while you can. We're so glad to have them on board for another year. And hope to continue this partnership because they make some great shirts. This is the shirt I have, which kind of replicates the new jerseys. They came out with a shirt that is the 1969 script, like the new jerseys, which are incredible. Great shirts, great people, great products. Any closing thoughts, Andrew, before we wrap up? Anything on football? I know we've kind of spring football is right on the corner, which is absolutely insane.
No, sounds like there's a lot of recruiting momentum now. Just like
huge getting some legit talent to come in at least for a visit. Which I mean, that's the hardest thing is just getting them on campus to visit. So it sounds like Walters and staff are really kind of resonating with the youth, which is awesome. And we'll see if they can land him. Obviously, part of that's going to have to be the product on the field. There's that 4-star that decommitted from TCU that. It sounds like it was being recruited by Harrell when he was at West Virginia. That's going to make a visit to Purdue. And, I mean, that could be a great start to which would be the second commit for the 2024 class if he decides to commit. But it'd be a great momentum builder to get, have your QB, set in stone to go out and get some playmakers.
Yeah.
Awesome. We appreciate you guys tuning in. I know it's been a few weeks. Life has gotten in the way between Andrew's job and then Tanner and I are both planning weddings. I'm not planning, my fiance is planning, but I'm trying to help as much as I can.
Should all be planned by now, I think.
Yeah, we're getting there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Cheer hard for the Boilers, and we'll see you hopefully after this weekend where we can hopefully be talking about a clinched Big Ten title with no sharing, not about sharing here. Thank you guys, Boiler Up, and good night.